Well, I welcome everyone to the Police and Fire Commission on November 16th, 2022. First item on the agenda is a call to order, and then the second item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Item number 3 on our agenda is a review of the Police and Fire Commission draft meeting minutes from the October 27th meeting. Any questions, thoughts, or corrections?
I've reviewed the minutes and I will move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes from October 27th, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. All right, item number 4 on the agenda, public appearances for non-agenda items. I see we have one individual in the crowd. Come on up to the mic. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's on, isn't it? Yeah, hey, I'm good. Thank you. I'm Raj Kohi, 2682 County Road, MM. I'm here this evening just to voice a lot of appreciation, I guess that's the best way to say it, of what I'm looking at right here. And also, I'm representing the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee. I'm co-chair and have been on the committee for 16, 17 years. And we have, of course, are in close contact with the rural part of Fitchburg, with the farming community, if you will. And a few weeks ago, I received a phone call from Chief Morales. And he asked me if he could have my time to take him around and introduce him to some of the rural businessmen, farmers. And so I lined up, we had time allowed us to line up for 3 of the largest landowner operators in the city. And I had called them ahead of time and made sure that they were available, and the time of the year they're pretty busy, but yes, they were available. And the experience that I witnessed at that time with Chief Morales was something that we in Fitchburg, in the rural area, cannot tell you how much we appreciate. He spent time with each one of these people talking about their families, talking about what they could do to help security in the rural area. Now, this has been a situation for some years in the rural area. There has been a concept or a feeling that, hey, we're way out there and we don't get fast response time and whatnot. And so to have our chief police come out there and spend time talking to 3 of the largest operators in our city who have, traffic issues with coming in and out of all their fields with their equipment. They have semis that they have with traffic issues and whatnot. And, of course, there's the part of the rural area where they're speeding. These were some of the things that he addressed with them. Well, the day went on, and he had to get back to work, and myself being retired, I said, well, okay, fine, I'm glad you're still working for me. But anyway, I received from these people thank yous for his time. And I wanted to bring this up to this committee to let you know that the rural community is very conscious of this new approach, this new form of interest that we have in the southern part of our city. And we also had a meeting every year. We have a meeting, didn't have it last year, but every year we have a meeting which we call for all the landowners. Now this is all the landowners, and we have a meeting which we call them together, and we meet at a location, and it's kind of organized through Ag and Rural as a communication idea between City Hall and the rural area. And so we will have 25, 35 people, landowners from the rural area come to this gathering. We hold it someplace in the rural area. This last year we held it down at Four Seasons. And it was really an outstanding. Again, we had a presentation from Chief Morales to the whole area. We also had presentations from our alders, our mayor, and also a presentation from our administrator. The idea that we are trying to do this over the years is to let these people in the rural area have a feeling that, hey, this is what's going on in the northern part of the city. And again, it's been very, very successful, and we plan to continue to do that. It's a PR type of deal for Fitchburg. Now, there's another thing that we want to mention, and I'd like to mention this. Chief Polmacher, I understand that if I'm correct, have you had a seminar on how to handle evacuation out of grain bins?
Yeah, so we've had grain bin rescue training and large animal rescue training.
Right. Well, again, we as a community of the ag community appreciate you taking a look at that. Grain bin rescue is a serious, serious thing. And several years ago, we had one of our prominent farmers get caught up in a grain bin. And for you to know that if you get caught in a grain bin, it's like quicksand. There's no bottom to it. And if you get in there and, of course, instinctively fight and you just go down, they had to cut out the side of the bin to get him out, saved his life. But to have our fire department have this equipment and understand the way it is it's a tube that goes down inside of the grain bin. You force it down around the person that's caught in there, and it takes training on how to do this. Again, we're glad and very appreciative of what you're doing to create safety for the rural area. So those are a couple things that I wanted to mention to both of these departments, and just extend a great deal of appreciation, and we look for continued relationship and to what you guys are doing. So thanks, Tom.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Roger. Really appreciate it. That's great to hear, and we all know what a great job our fire and police service do. So thank you, Roger, for highlighting that from the Ag and Rural Affair standpoint. Appreciate it.
If I may, just for anybody that's listening to the program, that's a perfect example of how our community can impact their protection just by reaching out and sharing their concerns. Sometimes we're maybe not aware of those concerns just based on our reality and our day-to-day, but we do appreciate the input that we receive from the community to be able to provide service that makes the most sense in every corner of our city. So please feel free to continue to reach out, and we would be happy to take advantage of that opportunity to connect. Thank you.
Thanks. And another note, I believe our Commissioner Johanning is also a member of the Ag and Rural Affair Committee, so thank you for that service as well. All right, any other public appearances? Okay. Well, let's move on to agenda item number 5, special thank you for employee referrals. So The commission would like to thank members of the police department in particular, but also the fire department for the internal work that you do in generating the referrals for our police and fire service for the positions that we do have open. And I know Officer Hinejos has been taking an extra step, and we've had some recent successes with that. So we just wanted to thank you in particular and to the others that are undertaking that effort for the city of Fitchburg. We much appreciate it. Chief, any additional comments?
No, we've been looking for a way throughout the city, talking to the city administrator, the mayor, and HR and budget or finance. It's difficult. It's not there right now, and I think we brought it up here at the commission as well. But it's identifying ways to reward those who help, who are first working for our organization and trying to recruit and bring people in versus bringing on signing bonuses for somebody who hasn't proved themselves. And Officer Hinojos is an example of that he's been here a couple of years. I've recognized his work. It's work that comes to my office, my phone, my emails on the good works. So this is not the only acknowledgement that Officer Hinojos has received. He continues to do his work, which shows his dedication. And we appreciate him. It's going to come out of my pocket, but I owe him a dinner for this. But he is owed a dinner for this, and we will be taking him out so that he and his wife can enjoy a night out. And he deserves that. His hard work, we appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for it.
And just as a reminder, this isn't the first time that we've celebrated Officer Hinojos. I just remember about 4 months ago, a gentleman and his daughter came before our commission to just thank him so much because he stopped an active auto theft happening in the middle of the night at their home. He was there. He was just there. So Officer Hinojos is a star in the field, and he's also just recently brought us 2 new recruits. So I hope that we can continue to move forward with some sort of incentive or thank you. Beyond, thank you, Chief Morales, for taking him out to dinner, but just, move forward with this, sort of built-in permanent level of recognition or reward for just doing good stuff. So thank you so much, Officer Hinojos.
Thank you.
I would like to go on the record. I mean, if Chief Morales is buying dinner for recruitment, anybody out there in the Fitchburg area interested in a policing job, just say you heard it from Joe.
We got donuts for you.
There you go. Well, one of the things we do have on today's agenda, and we've had it on other agendas, is recruitment strategies for police officer, and we certainly do want that public input from the service, both fire and police, as we struggle through what is something going on in the entire economy, finding good quality employees and applicants for the roles that we do have. All right. Well, let's move on to item number 6 on the agenda, report from Police Department. Chief Morales, the staffing report, please.
Yes, the numbers are changing as we speak. Currently, it's no longer currently, we're down 50 off sworn, so that's 4 positions. As this staffing report was sent out, I had 2 officers, one today, inform me verbally of his resignation. Effective December 1st, and last week, and that's a natural progression. One was an officer who, part of getting into the FBI is a stepping stone, working for your local law enforcement agency. You work 3 to 5 years there, and you make that next step. So that's one coming. That's one I support, and happy to see him there. But it's it's coming at a time where we're hurting for staffing. So as of at the end of the month, we will be down 48 bodies. The good thing is that we have one officer who's coming off of field training. That would add to the staffing. And 2 of the members, and we brought this up in the last piece, but 2 of the members that are being hired out of the 3 laterals were recruited by Officer Hinojos. A lateral transfer is important because they're certified police officers. So their training period, their adjustment period is much smaller. They can pretty much hit the ground running. We just have to get them acclimated. So that's 3 bodies, although without the people that we're going to discuss for hire, we will be down at the end of the month by 6 positions. down to 48, and we anticipate 3 more in December, and a couple more in late winter. So we're still working on recruitment, and we'll continue to discuss that. I do see, even in this process, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to take a little bit of time, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Moving forward to the orderance, we had 34 orderance, 3.5 hours. Number of orderance per current patrol position is 4.25. Patrol staff is 78%, 22 available, 22 unavailable, 22%. In the unfilled patrol positions, the significant piece of that is the unfilled patrol positions. Those numbers are going to increase, and they are increasing over 2021. What I will tell you as well is, as part of the staffing, there might be some services that we will be reducing if the staffing levels do come to some necessity to reduce some of those services. However, we will be communicating that with the public. One of the things where it will help is a phone tree. The phone tree will help our communication center push some of the calls that can be addressed through the phone tree. We will be messaging that out to the public within the next 10 days and going into effect by mid-December. That's going to help a bit, and some of the other ones will be temporary service changes until we can get our staffing levels up. Again, you can see it, but I'll bring them up if for the public for the October of 2021. Those numbers are much different. The orderings were less, but again, the staffing levels was much more. There were no significant events or staffing levels to this extent back then. And unless there's any questions, I'm done with the staffing piece.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? So Chief, just for math purposes, so on the sheet that we had sent out Friday, I think it was, there were 4 vacancies, one of which was a member failing the academy, a second which was an individual resigning to head out to the FBI.
Yes.
And then you got another resignation notice today of an individual.
Right.
And then there's a fourth that you received as well?
No, we had 3 vacancies, and we had the officer that failed the academy, the officer going to the FBI, and now the other officer that submitted his resignation today. So that's the 6.
6, gotcha. Great, thank you. Any other thoughts or questions? All right, well, why don't we move to agenda item 6B? Any motions to closed session?
Pursuant to Section 19.851C Wisconsin statutes, the commission will move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluations of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. More specifically, to make hiring recommendations for police sergeant, police officer, and to notice the commission on a resignation of 1 police officer.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, we are in closed session. All right, we are back from closed session, and we'll move to item number 6C on the agenda. Open session for action to be taken on items discussed in closed session if desired.
So I will make a motion that we approve the recommendation of Chief Morales to promote 2 internal candidates to the position of sergeant.
I can second that.
All right, any discussion on the motion to approve the recommendation of the chief for 2 individuals for promotion to sergeant? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay. Any other action out of closed session?
I'll make a motion that we approve the chief's recommendation to create a 1-year eligibility list for the position of sergeant, which will include 1 person on that list.
Is there a time period you want to propose, Commissioner Amble?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said 1-year eligibility list.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, any other action coming out of closed session?
I would like to make an approval to approve the chief's recommendation to make a conditional offer of employment to 1 individual.
I'll second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. All right, any other action coming out of closed session? Okay, let's move on to agenda item 6D, city policy on offer letter requirement to withdraw from other hiring processes. And it's something that's come up, and that came up in our last meeting, I believe, or one of the last 2. And Sarah, in the pre-read packet, included a sample of the letter that goes out to individuals when there is a conditional offer of employment made. And then item number 6, Sarah, in that conditional offer is the language about withdrawing from other processes for other police departments. And Sarah, do you maybe just want to give us a little context and history for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've always had this as part of our offer letters for police officers. So we do request that once they make it through all of the conditions, that includes the physical and the drug test, that they have to withdraw their name from other departments that they might be part of the hiring process for. So the thinking is that, we're investing in them. We're serious about them. We want them now to, withdraw their name from other departments. It is not something we have to have on there by any type of ordinance or city policy. So if the commission decides they want to remove this as part of the offer letter, we can certainly do so. And I'll share my screen here so viewers at home can see what we're referring to. There's just a section here in that offer letter. So this is our conditional offer letter that we send out to those that we make offers to. And the first part is that they agree to go through a physical exam. The second is the psychological. Third, the drug screen. And then, of course, having successful completion of the background and an 8-hour ride along. Number 6 says you must formally remove your name from all eligibility lists or processes for hiring with other agencies once conditions 1 through 4 have been successfully met. And a copy of your letter mailed to these agencies must be sent to our agency. So there is nothing that requires that we must continue to do this. We can take that part off of our conditional offer letters. But Chief might have some thoughts about, maybe if you've seen this at other, at your former department, or how you feel about having this on the offer letter.
They are on other departments, and part of the discussion that I've had with other chiefs is they've taken them out because the difficulty of going after somebody who decides to do it anyway is very difficult. City attorneys will look at the cost benefit to go after somebody, and it's the same on some of these other positions where you ask or you demand that in certain circumstances you have to pay this money back. The amount of money that it costs to do it is counterproductive, and that's why some of that verbiage is taken out.
So I guess I see it as two. I like the message it sends. We are investing in you. We are offering you employment. You're agreeing to come work for us. So that should be a no-brainer. If you're saying, Chief, yeah, but we can't really enforce it, so why put it in there? I get it. And maybe you drop the last line that says you got to send us a copy of the letter, but I like it in there. I think it sends the right message. You know, it's a commitment. You're making a commitment. That should be obvious, but, you know, I think that's fair. And you don't have to chase them down if you don't want to, but at least it's in there and they have an acknowledgement that, yeah, okay, this is serious.
Sarah, a clarification question and then a thought. Do you, as a part of our process, do you actually wait until you get all the letters, you know, or any letters? Or is it just kind of there and it's not really enforced as part of the process?
It's there, and I wouldn't say it's always enforced. You know, if people give us a letter, that's wonderful, but we don't follow up and ask them to. We don't wait and collect a letter for each department that they've applied for.
Gotcha. You know, I think part of our fear when we didn't have all this clarification, and thank you, Sarah and Chief, for tracking it all down, part of our fear was we were requiring this at the wrong point in the process, that it might have been on the front end before they got through physical, psychological, drug, and background. But it's clear here that we don't ask for this until they've gone through all those different steps already. And to me, that makes sense. I like the language there. I think it is appropriate for partly the reasons that Commissioner Baxter mentioned, and yeah, I think it makes sense going forward. And Chief, to your point about, you know, the cost-benefit analysis of chasing people down who, you know, commit to that, maybe starting the, you know, say they'll go to the law enforcement academy and then back out and go to some other department, that makes sense, but I think that's just a reality of, you know, all employment for the most part.
Right. And what I agree, and the other piece is when this shift changes and you do obtain an abundance of you know, recruits or candidates, then that also becomes a moot point because you have people that are very motivated for the position and the job, and they're going to want it.
I'm leery of this just because do other agencies require this, right? Again, I want to compare ourselves to the places that people are leaving to our competition as far as who we're trying to hire. And I mean, this is, it's intimidating. It's leery because you're still not telling, I mean, 1 through 4, I can't see what 4 is. I don't have that in front of me.
4 is the background check.
Sheena, I can speak to this a little bit since my husband went through this process. When he was like 21 years old when we were going through this, and he had like several offers kind of happen at once. He was like about to accept a position with Appleton when the State Patrol gave him an offer, and so he received something just like this, a letter that said you needed to withdraw from all other application processes. And I mean, we were 21 years old and we took this very seriously, and he did just that. He dropped out of all other processes, and then, he chose the State Patrol and solidified that and went in that direction confidently. So this was part of our reality.
No, and I respect that, and I do hear the volume that it does speak and the precedent that you're trying to set with that. I don't think, like I said, it can't be enforced. I personally disagree with it and don't think that anybody, because I too once was 20-some years old and had multiple offers to different departments, and to pull out of one particular one wasn't something that I wanted to do, because that was my long-term goal. So everybody has goals. Everybody has places they eventually want to be. I don't think this means they're going to take it any less seriously if they're applying for it and they've made it that far. So I think, if this is something we have to vote on to remove or not, again, I just think it's just intimidating and it's not needed.
Right. Any other thoughts or proposals or motions? Okay. Chief, anything else for agenda item 6, report from Police Department?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 7 on the agenda, report from Fire Department. Chief Pulvermacher.
Good evening, everyone. In front of you, actually, I sent out an updated activity report. Those of you that are in the chambers here have a hard copy. Those of you online should have an electronic copy. There were a couple of changes to the overall document. We were in the process of collecting inspection data, so that has been updated. Also, it's important to note that we have already surpassed the number of calls that we had last year, and we're projecting out to have about 500 more calls this year. And that's without taking the town of Madison into consideration. Some of that has already been addressed, and I shared that in a separate part of the report. As far as staffing, some of the changes that were made there, based on the one that was put into the packet, we failed to make the transition once we promoted Lieutenant Zolke. We didn't make those transitions on the staffing report, so those transitions are depicted in the updated version, and then all of those numbers are accurate. From personnel standpoint, we received one resignation from an intern firefighter. He has second-guessed his I guess from a professional standpoint, the career path that he wants to take is no longer the fire service. So he submitted his resignation. And then from a recruitment standpoint, we still have 2 paid-on-call, paid-on-premises members that are on track to completing their training and staffing the vehicles. We do have an ongoing recruitment for intern. We'll be discussing that a little bit later to be able to address a second-year intern offering. And then from the eligibility list standpoint, we still have a list of those lieutenants or those candidates that went through the lieutenant process. And we still have that on file. And we have posted the career firefighter position with the physical agility requirement. The promotions we've already talked about, and at this point, there's no recommendations being made for paid-on-premises lieutenant. There is still one paid-on-premises lieutenant candidate that I have to meet with, and it's been a scheduling issue. But I do think that there are some things that I can share with all of those candidates that address the overall process, and we'll do that after that last interview is done. And then consistent with other reports, just sharing with you some of the overtime and mandates that have been conducted over the past month, and then sharing my hours as well. Good news is my hours have gone down, but still considerable in regards to what the work week should be. And then the second component that I sent separately had to do with the new mapping that we're working out with data analyst and GIS, just giving you an idea, sort of like a heat map as far as where our calls are in the city and what we anticipate for calls moving forward. And the second part of that is the past 14 days, what we've been doing in the new portion of the city that what used to be the town of Madison. So just gives you an idea of some of the work that's being done and where we're seeing the most activity in the city. With that, I'll pause for any questions.
Well, on one note, just to echo what our public comment from Roger Cohey said, the idea, the distribution map or scatter map, whatever these are called, is helpful to see. Obviously, the fire service is serving the entire city of Fitchburg in addition to, the highly populated areas. So thank you for what you do in the rural parts of the city as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. Our pleasure.
Chief, I'm noticing the firefighter overtime for October is giant comparatively to the other months. Do you have any idea what, is it the town of Madison absorption? I mean,
No.
okay.
No, that's consistent. I think a lot of times what's happening is they're getting their vacation hours in. There is certain hunting seasons that have opened up, and it is a pretty popular time of year. You're going to see that in November too.
That. Okay. Huh.
Any other questions for the chief on item 7A?
One thing that I would like to make mention of, you accurately before identified the topic of we as a family. You talked about how you were both involved in a process. A lot of what we're reporting on here does not just affect the firefighter, it also affects the family. So I think your comment was accurate.
Okay. Thanks. I thought I misspoke. Thanks, Chief.
All right, why don't we move to agenda item 7B, chief?
The next item up is the fire service intern qualification update. There's a couple of updates in what Sarah put in your packet, identifies some of the track changes. The main thing is to be able to recruit those that have expressed interest in our department and to be able to utilize them sooner than later. One of the important things to note is we want them to be aware of the fact that our intern program is a resident program. They do live at the fire station, and it sort of sets the stage for those candidates that are expressing interest. There are some people that just are not in a family situation that they can live in the firehouse. Maybe they're married, maybe they have kids. A resident program is probably not going to serve them as well. We've got other options for them. The internship probably isn't one of them. So that's why resident is important. The revision date is I think obvious. And then what happened is we split it into a couple of different qualifications. First, identifying the first year requirements, which sometimes requires us to potentially accept a candidate who doesn't have any experience or certifications, just based on where they are in their lives. Many of them have recently graduated high school, so the opportunities that exist for them to have certifications may not have existed, but they have expressed interest and seem to be applicable candidates. One of the changes that hasn't necessarily been identified on this, and it's one to discuss. In the past, we said that the candidate needed to be 18 years of age. But one thing that we do know is that some of our candidates graduating high school may not turn 18 until September. There's other things that we can do with them throughout the course of the summer that gets them ready for the internship. So from a staffing and appointment standpoint, we may want to consider bringing them on board, training them over the course of the summer, and then as they turn 18, utilizing them as staffing. So we have to be careful. We can't send anybody into a burning building that's less than 18 years old. So it's a legal requirement, but there are things that we can do from a training perspective that they can do if they are younger than 18. And we've already had interns that have started younger than 18, but we were only able to count them as staffing once they turned 18. And we can take that into account. It's definitely something we need to keep front of mind, and we need to make them aware of as they're coming into the department. And then from a license and certification standpoint, we need to make sure that they're enrolled and or accepted into the fire service program through Madison College. We may actually accept those who have been enrolled in other programs, not just Madison College, but Madison College makes the most sense based on its location and the fact that our resident interns can then have a shorter commute. We would want them to try to get into the Madison program regardless of where they are right now. And then from a State of Wisconsin Firefighter 1 certification standpoint, we put that as a preference, not a mandate. because they will eventually get their firefighter one, but in order to be counted as staffing, they need the certification. So that's why it's preferred. Where that changes is our second year residents, we're going to want them to have 30 credits in a fire science accredited program. And we're also going to want them to be certified to at least firefighter one. It's a true second year position, so they should have some experience already coming into the position. And so, Sarah, that's one thing that I did notice on here that I made in my notes, is that we probably should address the firefighter one certification as a mandate for the second year. And those are the only changes that really have been identified. But before we open that up to a second-year candidate, because we do have 2 vacancies in our intern program, we needed to update the job description and bring that past you before we open that up.
So, Chief, in addition to the changes that are referenced here in the track changes, are you requesting some kind of language around the second bullet point under education and/or experience requirements for first years? Some language around the 18-year requirement? You want to say must be at least 17 years of age?
I think what we say is we can still use the 18 years of age. We can say apply at 17 and must be 18 years in order to be appointed to staffing or staffing. So it allows them to apply. We do have some seniors in high school that are 17, and if they see an 18-year-old age requirement, they may not apply. So we want to make sure that's apparent and obvious that although they're 17, they can still apply.
So what if we made it, that second bullet point, say something like, may apply at age 17, period, must be at least 18 years of age at the time of appointment to staffing?
Correct. I would agree with that.
Good revision.
And then the second revision, in addition to the track changes that you're looking for, is for the second year resident, adding that firefighter one certification is required.
Is required.
Any other discussion on this? Then I'll move to approve the revised job. Well, I guess, do we need to vote on the revisions to the job description, Sarah?
Yeah, I think you should vote to approve, like an amended job description based on what was just discussed for the 2 bullets, the age and the certification.
Okay. Then I'll move to approve the job description as revised in the pre-read packet, in addition to the 2 amendments we just discussed related to age and firefighter one requirement for the second year resident.
I'll second that.
Okay, why don't we do second from Sheena, because she's joining us online. Any other discussions? All right. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Chief, item 7C of the agenda.
Item 7C, it requests the request to cancel the current first-year fire science intern requisition. The reason why we're requesting that is we had that open. We had 3 candidates, and all 3 of them did not have the certification that was necessary in order to be able to be counted as staffing. So they did not qualify, which then encouraged us to revisit the job description that we just went over. We do have a vacancy still, actually 2, and that's why we'd like to open it up to the second-year intern recruitment process. That will hopefully get us somebody who's got some college credits already and their certification. We'll run them through minimum skills, and then we'll be able to count them as staffing. So that is what we're requesting, is to cancel the current first-year process that is still open, and then to begin the second-year fire science intern recruitment using the job description that was just amended.
Any discussion?
I'll move we approve the request of the chief to cancel the current process.
I'll second. Any discussion on the motion to cancel the current first-year fire science process?
Let me amend that and also begin a second fire science intern recruitment process. So to recap, I will move that we cancel the current first-year science intern process and begin a second-year fire science intern recruitment process.
I'll second that amended motion. Any discussion on the amended motion? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
So thank you. One point of interest with that position, it is a flagship position within our department. We were one of the first in the state, going back to the 70s, to have an intern or a live-in program within our department. It gives firefighter candidates a really good opportunity to mix education with experience, giving them what they need in order to pursue the fire service as a profession. And our numbers are very good with that program. If they don't start with us, they start someplace. There's about a 95% placement rating with our interns. And we enjoy that program so much, it's good to see it moving forward and amending it appropriately based on the needs. So thank you.
Chief, I have a quick question about because I'm so interested in this internship program. So is there any pay incentive from first year to second year intern? Do they get any bump in pay? And then the second part of that question, are we competitive with other fire departments' internship programs? Because I respect the fact that, yes, these people are getting a place to live, but driving back and forth to school and purchasing books or anything that's not covered in the program, they have to be able to afford to live and pay bills, make a car payment, whatever that might be. So are we competitive? And then what kind of incentive?
So second part first, because I always start out with the good news.
Yes.
Yes, competitive. We are competitive. The other bit of that, the first part, as far as getting a bump from first year to second year, not necessarily. Where they may get a bump is the fact that they can cover shifts a little bit more frequently if they so choose. And with that, there's additional pay that comes into it. They do get a tuition reimbursement or at least a stipend associated with good grades. At the end, and they live for free. I mean, we don't charge them rent, right? And although we shouldn't, I'm not suggesting that we should. Knowing the market in Madison, having rent and a place to stay is significant, especially as you're going through school. The value behind this program isn't necessarily to make a lot of money. It's to get your education and your experience with little to no college debt. You can leave the program and start your career with little to no college debt, and that's significant. And they can hit the ground running, then
and hopefully stay working with us.
I always try to talk them into not purchasing their first pickup truck until after they have, a decent salary. Yeah. Well, and then they can come see you afterwards.
All right, Chief, anything else for the report from the fire department?
I don't have anything. One thing that I will request is the ability to vacate a little bit early based on another commitment. But I do appreciate the work that's being done, and some of the things that we've talked about tonight are going to serve us well. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, let's move to agenda item number 8. We've talked about this a couple times in the past. It's been on our past agendas, I think, as well. And maybe we spend some time with this. I think this is a role for us as a Police and Fire Commission that is evergreen and ever ongoing. Ideas for recruitment, tools for police officer, and also for the fire service as well. So just wanted to have a chance for us to brainstorm, talk through, and share thoughts on strategies for recruitment. Chief or Sarah, do you maybe want to kick us off, and then we can share thoughts?
I'll wait for Sarah.
Sure. Sure. So we really need feedback from anyone that might have some ideas or strategies on what we can do that we aren't already doing. So all of our openings we post all over the place. So we have contacts in the community that we share openings with. We try to build relationships in the community. We have internship programs, as you heard from Joe. So there's so many different strategies when it comes to recruitment and selection. We don't currently have sign-on bonuses. We don't currently have employee referral bonuses. So there are things that, we have to budget for as a municipality if we want to incorporate some of those incentives for recruitment. So really it's just opening it up to the commissioners to kind of do some brainstorming and think about how we can bump up, our 53 or 54 applicants in a 4-month period to a higher number. And again, that's just for police, but police and fire, how can we drum up interest in public safety? Before I head it out to you or give it to the commissioners, I just want to highlight that we will be at the Alliance Center for a Future Quest, which is a event where all Dane County students that are in middle school are invited to have some hands-on and learn about different types of careers. So police and fire and our FACT TV almost every year go to this and have a booth up and are able to talk with the students. So one thought is that how do we reach the younger generations to get them interested in police and fire? And that's something that we've been doing every year to try to get some exposure. So.
Sarah, what ages is middle school? What ages are you targeting for that, right?
So I believe it's 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade for Future Quest.
Okay, cool. No, that's great.
When is that event, Sarah? Do you know offhand?
Yep, it's November 29th at the Alliance Center.
I remember Chief Pulvermacher in one of the last couple of meetings, you mentioned it was hard to get to the school counselors and to get through to them to share opportunities for the fire service in Dane County. And that may be a strategy not just for Fitchburg, but, that we could cooperate with other municipalities in terms of, doing things like the visits to the Alliant Energy Center, but going out to the individual schools and having the counselors be advocates for police and fire was one thing. That just struck me that you were having trouble with that. And I thought there must be a way to punch through that.
Yeah, and I do think talking to the counselors is one of the things that we can be doing. We know that curriculum is what it is in the schools, and they need to cover a certain amount of hours in certain educational groupings. But from at least a fire standpoint, there's consistency with science, technology, engineering, and math that we can meld into a curriculum. Underwriters Laboratory, for example, has an ExploreWorks program that allows firefighters to deliver curriculum that's consistent with the science requirements for the years. So the getting out there and addressing some of the overall needs that a school has and a school district, but also then getting out there and planting some seeds at a very young age so that kids know that they can reach out and ask some very pointed questions as they're trying to figure it all out. And we know that's happening at 7th and 8th grade. It's just a well-known fact that they start thinking about what they're going to do as adults in those formative years. So it's in our best interest to try to work with the counselors, the school districts, in order to have a presence. And that used to exist to some extent with school resource officers, and we've seen how that that philosophy has been challenged recently. So there's a lot of different ways that we can have that constant, gentle presence so that that trust is built and kids start asking questions at the appropriate time, which is sooner than later, hopefully.
The kids that we're currently trying to recruit, if we're talking about kids and trying to start early, they've grown up in a very different society, and there is a tarnished image to the police officers that we have to work through. I think targeting early is important, and rebuilding that trust, and working together with the school districts to let the kids know, it is good. It is okay to be a police officer. It is okay to be a firefighter. People, still respect that profession. It's still a much needed profession. I think Chief Pulvermacher does a great job when he goes in, he's targeting athletes. He's connecting with coaches. I think that's a huge place of potential candidates. Not saying that all athletes are, but I think you can get some great, majority of people I know in the industry have been athletes. I think other places, construction. I mean, even just looking to other arenas where people maybe could, want to be of service to their community. I think also reaching out locally to the community is huge too, and hopefully finding those community involved servants as well would be my.
If I can add as well, I think we're hitting on the same topic, and that's the youth. We did coordinate a presentation with the Oregon High School. At the high school, although I would say the organization of it was Career Day, and they do it on Wednesdays. And there was a day that Fitchburg Police Department was invited, and we did have a group. I do want to thank the Fitchburg Fire Department. I don't have the firefighter's name, but there was one student in there that heard about the Fitchburg Police Department and did attend our presentation, and went so far as to follow up with us for an internship program. That's the other piece to it, is not just reach out at these schools, is to offer a type of internship program where they can start through, basically doing the ride along, being a part of the work process so they can see what it is that law enforcement does, similar to a Citizens Academy, work it through and have that desire to want to be a police officer. You all met our intern that was here for the summer. That intern graduates in May, and that intern is not obligated to continue to do work with the Fitchburg Police Department, yet she has a projected graduation date of May, and she continues to come in once a week to help us out with our monthly reporting. That she does on her own time. She informs us that she's going to be applying once she graduates, so we have to coordinate that because our first intern in a number of years has been a successful one. So, and going back to high school, we don't offer paid internship programs. However, getting them involved and getting a young person who wants to see what we do as a profession, I think it's important, and we start reaching out to those venues.
And then they can buy a really big pickup truck.
But they won't.
Sarah, does the city have a recruiter, or does the police department have a particular a recruiter, or the fire department have a recruiter? Or is this just a shared position amongst everybody?
Boy, that would be wonderful if, police and fire had their own recruiters. But honestly, I kind of serve as the recruiter for the entire city. So it's not really a recruiter role, right? I'm just filling positions. I don't have the time to actively go out and go to all the different career fairs or go out to all the different events going on to try to actually recruit. So, I mean, the goal hopefully is that everyone who works here is informally or formally in some way recruiting. That's the best way to bring on people is to have our actual employees be talking to other people. So yeah, we don't have a formal though recruiter in our police and fire or any of our city departments.
I do think that that's one very important point, though. I mean, sort of like the milk, the dairy board's happy cows philosophy produces good milk. Well, happy employers and happy employees have a tendency of having a significant impact on the message that's being shared with the community and those who are interested in looking into law enforcement, firefighting, paramedicine. So it's in our best interest to have good internal politics as well as external. To be able to share that message and to see that we're taking care of our employees to the point where when somebody comes to the city of Fitchburg, they know that they're going to be taken care of. There's also the whole philosophy of the hierarchy of needs. The less we provide somebody with concerns as far as livelihood and their ability to support themselves, the more likely we are to have an employee that provides a very valuable service, because that's what they're concentrating on. They don't have the distractions. So having a happy employee and making sure that we are addressing those concerns that exist within our workforce will pay dividends. And we'll have our ingrown recruiters that can hopefully share that message. And we've already seen it from the police department tonight, just some of the examples that were given earlier on at the beginning of this meeting.
I think it's an appropriate time, like for my comment, I was alluding to this in our previous meeting when we heard that we had a police officer that was doing like some internal recruitment. I think we have to have, I think it's mandatory that we have some sort of incentive for our current employees who bring someone here to the city of Fitchburg. We really need to have a recruitment incentive, or a recruitment bonus, or just something. Sarah, I'm hitting that home. I just feel like, we can't ask our two chiefs to take all of these people, out to dinner. Like, that's wonderful, that's kind, but as a city, like, it's our due diligence. I mean, when our chief is working 104 hours, like, dinner might be like really challenging to fit in and stuff. So definitely, like, take home message from me is recruitment incentive bonus, something like along those lines. And I'm really big at like retention, right? Like, that is like my thing. Like, we need to have Fitchburg be a place where people want to come and work and people want to stay. So like, whatever we can do to be noble, and just keeping people, because I would love to hear so much about retention and how we've kept this person for 13 years and now we're promoting him or her to lieutenant. Like, I would love if that was like our role on the Police and Fire Commission, more over than constant recruitment, we're like constantly trying to fill positions. Like, I get it, we're there, but I would like to be in a place where we were like staffed and like our people like we're wanting to be here and stay here.
That'd be more fun, wouldn't it? Well, I got a few things. I do hire quite a few people, so this is kind of my wheelhouse a little bit in the private sector, but I would say a couple things. Everybody's hitting on all of the high, easy ones, I guess. Some things that occur to me. Number one, I would make sure my outreach is bigger than just Fitchburg or Madison, Dane County, as it relates to the schools. Okay, because I think there's a different philosophy when you get outside of the metro as it relates to the importance of police and fire service and other trades, frankly, that don't get spoken to about as much when you're talking about Madison. That's just reality. So I encourage you, whatever you're doing, to get out that word from the school level, high school, or even middle school. I'm surprised to hear that. Make sure we're finding ways to get out into the smaller communities that can feed up to us, for sure. Echoing what others have said about that recruitment, absolutely, you want your advertising happening internally, but definitely incentivize them. Make it worth their while. We heard from a wonderful, Juan's doing it out of the goodness of his heart, but there's others that might be interested if they knew there was something in it for them. I would definitely not promote a signing bonus. You don't want to set that precedent, but you can definitely do it internal, signing bonus for the person that brought you here if you get hired, and don't do it all up front. Maybe it's a little bit on hire, and it's a little bit after a year, and it's another, so stretch it out and make it, so they have some incentive to keep them here as well. It's not just bring them here and get my check. Think a word I can throw out there is something called, if you can think about it in the context of creating a police or fire service paradise, a little bit to what Amy was saying. What is going to make Fitchburg a desirable place for people who want to come and work? And I'm here to tell you, it's not all about pay. It's not all about money. The people that seek out the signing bonuses or the money are probably not the people you want to bring on. They're looking for the next time they can get another check. So, but what else is it? There's a lot of things that are other than money that will attract people. Quality of life, work-life balance, other things you can do as a department that's acknowledgement or recognition or things that they can feel make them stickier to the department, I think you'll find will help. Gym memberships, boots, credits towards things that they need, that they know, they'll talk about with their friends. Hey, my department does this for me. And if that word gets around, that's, again, more ways you can spend money without having to spend it on signing bonuses, but spending it on other things that are important to the officers. Social events, that sort of thing. And then equipment and their environment that they're in. I know it's hard, and that's something we can't control, but I'm here to tell you that is a big piece of recruitment. Where am I going to work? What's the conditions within which I'm going to be working? What's the equipment like that I'm working with? If all that stuff's state-of-the-art, top of the line, again, creating that paradise, why would they want to go anywhere else? So that's a message a little bit more for the people that sit up here on a different night. But I think that also can go into and have a big impact on recruiting. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know that way.
That's a great point. I'll piggyback on that as far as, Fitchburg is a great place to be. Madison is a great place to be. I really like that idea of extending our outreach further than locally. And this is just a great community to be a part of. And I like that idea. I know we go on, we post on Indeed. I don't know. And I know there's the fire department and the police posting that most officers and stuff follow, but I don't think common people look to those as far as opportunities. But no, those are great ads.
I probably shouldn't be sharing my tip publicly in case there's another healthcare administrator watching, but I have had great success I know we're talking about like thinking outside the box, but like at a local level, I've had amazing success with the University of Wisconsin-Madison job board. Of course, I'm a little biased because I was trained there, but I've had great luck finding candidates from there. But they don't have these types of
I use that as well. That is a very good posting facility. And I'm with Amy. It's kind of like a little secret. I don't like to share as well too, because we get good candidates.
It's only $15 too.
Yes, it's viewed by many of the college kids. It's great. We use that for our seasonal help as well. What about also incentivizing our current staff for what they're doing? Not even just recruiting, just showing up, because all of these people that just continuously keep showing up and keep, they need to be appreciated. And like you said, the awards and the ceremony, but what can we do to appreciate them? I incentivize things to where if my staff shows up every day on time, they get 8 hours of PTO added to their check every month. And that's just a small thing that I can do to incentivize them, because they're doing the right thing. They're going to, but I want to thank them for that, because nowadays you necessarily don't have to, because there are so many options for them to go to. So offering those little incentives to keep our people happy, and like I said, keep spreading that word. So those are just a couple things that I think would help if we can. I know municipalities, your hands are tied more than the private sector, but if there's something we can do to help with that, that'd be.
It's definitely cyclical. We need the staffing in order to be able to do some of those other things. I mean, we have minimum requirements as it comes to filling the seats on the vehicles that respond out during the initial response. And that's one area where we're pretty fortunate as a suburban municipality in Dane County. The majority of fire departments in Dane County, suburban-wise, don't have career staff or are staffing the initial response. However, in order to make that predictable and sustainable, we need to seriously consider what staffing looks like in the future and how many career positions we have versus paid on call, paid on premises. By all means, we need to do what we can in order to develop our firefighters to be the best they can be so they can be marketable when it comes to assuming that role I shouldn't say professionally, that's the wrong word to use. We have professional part-time employees, but on a career level, if they want to make it a career, they need the education and experience. So we can do that, but we also have to be realistic in how many of those people we can put on staff and keep on staff. One of the things I know the city is interested in and they're working toward is a staffing study, a municipal staffing study, which takes into account our need and our ability to pay, and that's throughout all departments. But from a public safety standpoint, it's one of those things that is it's not tolerated when you can't appropriately staff an emergency. That's when people are their most vulnerable, and they're looking for assistance. They don't call us because they want to. It's because they can't handle it themselves, and they need help. And that's not the time that you want to add insult to emergency. So definitely something we need to continue to evaluate.
Municipalities tend to be behind in the times, I think, of benefits and incentives. And I think one thing, if we can focus on our target group, we are talking a lot about the youth, but we're also, we want people who want to provide for their families, who want to give back to their community. I looked at that and I said, what can we do as a business? We pay 100% of our employees' monthly health premium. They have a $0 deductible. Their insurance is better than my insurance that I had on a municipality. And this year we bumped it up because I do want more family providers. We now said we'll pay 50% of your family's monthly health premium. Mm-hmm. They don't see a bill at all. They pay a copay and that's it. So trying to advocate for those types of programs are out there. Mm-hmm. I know those take a lot longer as far as the municipality, but they're available. And to bring those to municipality, I think is going to set yourself apart. Your retirement is great for municipalities. I think people do appreciate that. But also private sectors are doing that. So you got to look at your competition. You're also competing against the private sector. We, in a landscape industry, we have a 3% retirement match. We're trying to professionalize our industries just as you guys have in the municipalities. So look at your competitors to see what they're offering their staff too.
One last thing I'll mention. We found really good success when we can really quickly and succinctly identify a career path for these young people that we're talking to. And I know you must have it, and maybe you already do this, but even on one page, when you go to these symposiums and these other events, when you can show, in a lot of cases, you're talking to parents and the child and the young person, right? So if they can see a path, and it's easy to see themselves in that path, it's easier to convince them to give it a shot. So I'll say that. And then last thing is technology. What are we using for technology, Sarah? Are we leveraging all of the socials? I know we have a Facebook page for the department. That's not where your young recruits are hanging out, probably. So what is the, and I'm not the right one to talk about it, but what's the social, where are those kids? Where are they looking at? And if they consider Fitchburg, are they going to Google Fitchburg PD and what are they going to see? Is it going to look cool? Is it going to be Fitchburg Fire Department's got all kinds of cool pictures and images, things that appeal to that generation? Look at your tech and see how you're talking to the outside world from a recruiter perspective.
I think they want to see Chief Morales dancing on a TikTok.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about and was going to bring up is a video. We need to take that next level. I think the social media pages are there. No, but you hit something is there was a period of time where there were these police department challenges.
Yeah.
And it promoted the image of each department when they did it. But it cost money. And the time to do it in the coordination. I could tell you a video that was in my prior position. We spent $25,000 on a video.
Wow.
And it went on for a couple years. That's how powerful that video was. It was professionally done. So to do something like that, that really is powerful, where you could play it on YouTube, where you could play it on TikTok, where you could play it on the social media parts. And we've discussed it, but it comes with a price.
Yeah, and this.
Is that something, is that something you can collaborate with a high school? Like their AV program, and build that connection. You're doing a great job clearly going to the community and making those connections. I mean, encourage these high school kids or collect, the AV programs at the Madison College, seeing if they would work with you guys to help create some of those videos. The cost is going to be way less, if anything. And they're going to be able to put their name on something that's going to be seen by many, many people. So just another idea to connect with the community.
Yes.
So there's a school counselors association in Wisconsin, and there's a bunch of leaders from Dane County that are part of that leadership group at the school counselors association. That might be another place to reach out. And I think your point, Sean, about getting outside the city of Madison, even Dane County, into the greater south central Wisconsin and rest of the state makes a lot of sense. And we can be a leader in that, perhaps.
It may take something like a summit where you just bring them in and bring them into our facility and maybe host a meeting for them. They can conduct their normal business, but then what we're able to do is maybe do a presentation that advocates for public safety and the fact that these professions need guidance at those high school levels and middle school levels.
But if we took them into any one of our fire stations, I would love to take kids there. That'd be really cool. But if we took them into our police department, they wouldn't even realize that they left the elementary school. It looks just the same as where they came from, unfortunately.
Well, I think, like we said, this is a continuing conversation, certainly, and then to the extent that the public has thoughts and ideas on these different strategies, I think, Sarah, you're probably a good point person to corral all of those. And then, Sarah, as you and your small team do endeavor to continue recruitment, let us know individually how we can help.
Absolutely. And yeah, there is an email. We still have the PFC email. It's pfc@fitchburgwi.gov. So if anyone watching or members of the public want to submit any ideas, definitely that email is the best one to get to the commission.
And we'd also be willing and we would welcome the opportunity to host focus groups on this subject. I think that's something that Chief Morales and I would be more than happy to sit down with civic leaders who have very pointed opinions about how we need to direct our recruitment. And maybe there's things we haven't thought of, or those things that we might have answers to already, but it's worth the conversation. So if this is far-reaching and there are people out there that are expressing some concern about the way that recruitment is being handled, we would be more than happy to have that discussion and would welcome it tomorrow. Yesterday,
yeah.
All right, any last thoughts on this topic for today? Okay. Agenda item number 9 on the agenda is a review of our PFC rules and regulations, if time permits. This has been on our agenda for a couple meetings. It is not something that is an immediate need. We just did review those maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I might propose that we, given we're 2.5 hours in, postpone this agenda item until another meeting.
So moved.
All right. I'll second the motion to amend the agenda to remove this and move it to another date. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, agenda item number 10 is announcements. Any announcements?
Happy Thanksgiving.
There you go.
Can we do that one?
Thanksgiving.
There you go.
Quick shout out and extra gratitude and thank you to all of our police and firefighters on both departments. Thank you for your service. We're extra thankful for you this Thanksgiving season.
Well said. All right, agenda item number 11, adjournment. I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank